field portion of our rankings. Let's start with center field. Number 15 center fielder, Dexter Fowler, Colorado. He set career highs in almost every offensive category last year except for steals. He hit 300, 13 homers, and had 12 steals. His runs and RBIs aren't that great, but you can live with it. I think he could potentially this year go 15-15, and that's what ESPN says. 287, 15 home runs, 15 steals, 87 runs. He'll score a decent amount of runs with Tulowitzki and Cargo behind him, and I think a pretty good year from Dexter Fowler this time. Number 14, Alejandro De Aza. I'm pretty high on him, and his projection and numbers aren't as good as Fowler, but I like De Aza more. His average is 281 last season. He hit 9 home runs, 81 runs, and 26 steals. I think De Aza will score more runs than Fowler will, but Fowler will have more pop and a higher average. With De Aza, he steals a lot of bags, and he's good in every category, so that's what makes him a good fantasy guy. His projection is 282, 11 homers, 80 runs, and 27 steals. He could be your third outfielder, your utility spot, or even your second outfielder, and I think he's going to have a big year this year. Number 13 center fielder is Michael Bourn, Cleveland. Now, he didn't sign until about less than a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, and I'm not very high on him. He had a power surge last year with 9 home runs. That's not going to happen again. He scored almost 100 runs. That's not going to happen again because Atlanta's lineup is a lot better than Cleveland's. He's only good for stolen bases as he hits 275, and that's not good enough to be a top fantasy center fielder. And his projection isn't very good. 268, 5 homers, about 90 runs, and 43 steals. A good projection, not the greatest. A very similar projection to that is Coco Crisp. And the only difference is Michael Bourn is getting drafted in the 5th round, Coco Crisp in maybe the 15th round. And that's why I'm not going to get Michael Bourn on one of my teams because he's highly overvalued. In fact, he's going to have a bust year this year, and he's the #1 overrated player in baseball this season. Number 12 center fielder, Shin-Soo Choo, Cincinnati Reds. He pitched for the Indians last year, but then he was traded to the Reds this offseason. The Reds are moving him from right field to center field, and that's why he's on this list. Last year he had a little bit of a down year. 283, 16 home runs, 88 runs, about 70 RBIs, and 21 steals. And his RBIs should be down because now he's leading off instead of hitting third. But his runs should be up, mainly because he's in a better lineup, and plus he's in a hitter's ballpark now. So everything should go up on Shin-Soo Choo except for the RBIs. His projection is very good. 280, 20 home runs, 92 runs, and 21 steals. I think he can go 20-20 with the high average, and I like him a lot this year. And I almost put him higher as I think he's going to be a breakout player this season. Number 11, center fielder is Carlos Gomez, Milwaukee Brewers. This guy was a breakout player last year. He finally reached his potential, although not his full potential. I had him on my team, and I was enthusiastic about his final numbers. 260, 19 home runs, 37 steals. Not many outfielders can give you 19 home runs, 37 steals. The only reason he's not higher than 11 is because he doesn't score runs, only 72 runs, and his average is only 260, and that kind of worries me. But his home runs, steals are fabulous, and he should be on your team. He's going like 12th round. He's going like a little below Carl Crawford. So I think he produced a lot more than Crawford, and he's a late round bargain and steal. His projection is a little bit of a down year, but I think he can continue his current pace. 258, 17 home runs, 84 runs, and 33 steals. Still a very good year, as 17 and 33 is pretty good. And I want him on my team, and I think I'm going to draft him this year. Number 10 center fielder is Curtis Granderson. He's out until May, mid to late May, with a wrist injury, but I still think he's number 10. Last season he had 43 home runs, 106 RBIs, and 102 runs, throwing about 15 steals, and he has a top 3 fantasy center fielder. He dropped, obviously, because of the injury, but his projection is still very good. He's projected to hit 246, 30 home runs, 88 runs, and 82 RBIs, and I think that's a very good projection. That's better than all the guys we've seen so far, and he's missing a month and a half, so I like that. He's going to hit 30 home runs whether he plays half a season or full season. He is not power in Yankee Stadium. He's a pull hitter, the short porch, and he has a lot of high power numbers, high RBIs, and high runs because he's a table setter as well. And I really like him this year. It's not a tragedy, but it's a sad injury because I thought he could have a very big year this year. But still draft him. He's going like round 7 now, and could be a very good guy to have. Maybe if he falls to round 9, maybe, but he's gonna slip, and I think you grab him, store him on your DL spot, pick up an outfielder, and then put him in later on in the season. Number 9 is Desmond Jennings. I had him last year, and I really like him. He had 31 steals, 13 home runs, 85 runs, and 246. Now, to become a better player, the average has to come up. But at the end of the first half, he was hitting 230, and he finished 246, so he had a very good second half. I like his steals, I like his runs, and his pop is pretty good, and he's a very good fantasy player. I think a breakout year of Desmond Jennings. 252, 16 homers, almost 100 runs, and almost 40 steals is his projection, and that's what he's going to do. He could potentially go 20-20, but I don't think, not quite that, but he should have a very good season, and I already have him on one of my teams, probably going to be on a second. Number 8 is Austin Jackson, Detroit. I like him a lot. He had a very good year last year, and his projection's even better. He hit 300, 16 home runs, 103 runs, and 15 steals. He's basically an upgraded Dexter Fowler, and I think he's going to have a big year this year. His steals, 15, need to come up for him to be a top 6 or 5 center fielder, but he can get to that level potentially. 285, 15 homers, 110 runs, and 25 steals is his projection. That's a pretty giant projection. And 110 runs, that would probably lead the league. And his home runs are fine, his average is good, and his steals are really good, so he should be on your team. Number 7, center field is Jacoby Ellsbury. He scares me a lot, and I wouldn't draft him. Even though I'm a huge Red Sox fan, he gets hurt every year, so I can't trust him. Last year, he only played half a season, and his numbers weren't even that good. 271, 4 homers, 43 runs, and 14 steals. Project that over a full season, it's about 270, 8 homers, 85 runs, and 30 steals. Not Ellsbury's finest year, but I think he could bounce back this year and be a good pick. 294, 17 homers, 88 runs, 30 steals, and 64 RBIs. Across the board, good numbers, but that's if he stays healthy, and that's what worries me. If you see him fall, get him, but do not spend like a second round pick on him. 4th round is when you can get him. That's a real good bargain for him. Number 6 is center fielder Bryce Harper. Yeah, I have him too low, but come on, he's overrated. He's going in the 2nd or 3rd round. That's too high. For a guy who hit 270 with only 22 home runs, I mean, that's a good year, but not 3rd round kind of year. 270, 22 home runs, almost 100 runs, and that's why he's important. 18 steals. His projection's a very good year, but I think it will not be. I think ESPN has him too high. I think ESPN, like many other experts, overvalued Bryce Harper. 266, 27 homers, 22 steals, 93 RBIs, and 90 runs. I don't think he's going to do that good. I find him being a very good player, but not 27 home runs, 22 steals. I say 24 and 20, and maybe 85 RBIs and 80 runs. I don't think he'll be as good as people think he will, but still a very good player to have. And he can play all outfield positions, but he's going to mostly be playing left this year. But he qualifies more at center, and that's why he's in this list. Number 5 center fielder is B.J. Upton, Atlanta. He had one of his best years of his career last year in Tampa Bay. He got signed as a free agent into Atlanta, and I think he's going to have a bigger year this year. I really like him. 246, 28 homers, 31 steals, 80 runs. Maybe 5 guys can hit 30-30 in the bigs, and Upton is one of them. And I think he's going to do it this year. ESPN says a very similar year, 245, 24 home runs, 85 runs, 31 steals, but I see 30 home runs, 30 steals coming in the future. B.J. Upton, and I like him, and he's going like 4th round. Harper's going ahead of him, but I think B.J. is a better draft. Number 4 center fielder is Adam Jones. He finally came into his own last year and filled out his full potential. 287, 32 home runs, 103 runs, and 16 steals across the board. A great fantasy player. But I think everyone on the Orioles overachieved last year, and a little bit of a down year, but still a very good player, is going to come this year. 288, 29 home runs, 90 runs, and 15 steals, as ESPN agrees with me. A very good player, just not last year. I would rather have him than B.J. Upton because he's more consistent, hits for a little more power, has a higher average, and scores more runs. And that's why I'd rather have Jones, but take your pick either way. You have a good center fielder. Number 3 is Andrew McCutchen. He took a giant leap last year, and he's getting drafted like 5th overall. That's a little too high for my liking, but he's still an extremely good player. I mean, if you hit 327, 31 homers, 20 steals, 96 RBIs, you're going to be awesome. And you're going to be drafted high. He's on the cover of MLB The Show, but I don't think he's going to have just that good of a year. He had an amazing year, hard to repeat. So his averages, or projections, is 327 homers, 91 RBIs, 25 steals, and I really like him this year, but you're going to have to give up a big pick for him. Matt Kemp, LA Dodgers, center fielder. Now, McCutchen's getting drafted higher than Kemp, but I like Kemp better. 3-3, 23 home runs, 70 RBIs, and he only had 400 at-bats. So if he had 600 at-bats, he was on pace for maybe 110 RBIs, 33 home runs, and 25 steals. That would have been just as good of a year as McCutchen, but he got hurt. His projection is very similar to what he was going to do last year, about 300, 33 home runs, about 100 RBIs, and 20 steals. And I think his steals will be better than 20, but I think he's a great player. But again, you're going to have to give up like a 7th overall pick to get him. Here's the guy you're going to have to give up a 1st or 2nd overall pick to get, and I think he's kind of overrated, but he'll still be a very good year this year. I mean, if you have 326, 30 homers, 49 steals, and 129 runs, it's going to be hard to repeat that. And let's be realistic, I don't think that's going to happen again. ESPN has him a little lower than I do, but he's, again, not going to be like last year. 285, 22 home runs, 112 runs, and 46 steals. That's not first pick numbers. And he's being overrated by people, but I think he can have a very good year still, and I see maybe 25 home runs, 45 steals, and he's hitting 300, just not last year. And I think if you're first pick, get Miguel Cabrera or Ryan Braun instead, because they've been there, done that, while Trout hasn't. Thanks for watching. Tune in next week for my left field rankings.